Hola, chicas, and welcome to another Money Talks Monday. I'm your host, Isabel, and today we're going to be talking about why you need an emergency fund. But before we go into today's topic, I do want to start with the quote of the day, which is: Smart investments are the seeds you plant now for the life you dreamed of later. And this quote is so true because the investments you do make now are going to impact whether or not you do get financial freedom in the future or get the future life you wanted. Now, with that, let's start with today's topic. Now, why you need an emergency fund can be a lot of questions people could be asking. Do I need it? Do I not really need it? But this video is going to explain why you do. Now, speaking from my own experience, I was actually in a car accident about a year ago, and I did not plan for anything like that, trust me. That car accident was so stressful, and financially and emotionally, mentally, like it was not an experience I would wish, not even on my worst enemy, okay? So, this experience definitely taught me a lot of things, especially why you should have an emergency fund. Now, this accident happened while I was just driving along, and all of a sudden, this guy made an illegal left turn and hit me. I did not know anything. When I had into that accident, I did not know how much anything was going to be. I did not know what to do. But, luckily, my insurance did cover the repairs. But I did have to pay a couple things out of pocket. And those things were I did not qualify because of my age to be covered with a rental car from my insurance. So that meant I had to pay for my own rental car out of pocket. That was super stressful because the first company I went to for just 1 week, they charged me almost $600 for 1 week. I think it actually only came out to be about 584, something like that. But still, it was crazy. So for them, I had 1 week. My car was not going to be ready in total for 2 weeks. So I was going to be without a car for 2 weeks. So after I saw how much the cost was for the first week, I was looking around to see if I could get a better deal because that was going to add up very quickly. I was not going to about to pay more than $1,000 just for a rental car. So luckily, I did my research, looked around, and asked around, and I was able to find a more affordable company. And I think for the last week, I think it was, yeah, just a week left that I had for my car for it to be ready to drive again. And for that week, it was like I would think it was like 150, maybe even a little bit less. It was a lot more of an affordable option. So I think just for the rental car, I think I spent maybe $700, and then that did not include gas. So I still had to fill up the car. If you did not know this, I did not know this. Every time you use a rental car, you need to fill up the gas. So I did not know this. So luckily, the first time I went, someone told me to fill up the gas tank. They did not charge me. Usually, they do charge you if you do not fill up the gas tank. So luckily, the guy I had was super nice, and he, you know, told me to fill it up. So I went to go, filled it up, came back, free of charge. They didn't charge me for that extra, you know, not putting in the gas. And again, with the second company I went to, I forgot, and they just told me to come back and just fill it up my own. Because if not, I think the fee was like $100 or something crazy like that. So they were very kind people to help me out in that situation. But this is why you need an emergency fund. Not everyone is going to be nice in helping you out. You're going to have to help your own self out. When life gives you lemons, you don't always know if you're going to be able to make lemonade with those lemons. That's why you need to prepare and be ready for when that time comes. Now, I say if you're just starting out, and I'm talking about like you're fresh out of high school, just got a new job, your first job, if that. So, I say you should start off with at least $500. But if you are on, the lucky adults that do have to pay bills, do have to deal with expenses and rent and all that fun stuff, I say you should be striving for $1,000 in your emergency fund, or at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Now, that looks like just ordinary stuff that you have just to live off of, day to day occurrences like rent, groceries, your car note, all the stuff you need to survive. In case, in a scenario that you don't have income anymore, you lost your job, something happens, you're on medical leave, you can't work no more, you have that emergency fund to fall under. That emergency fund should feel like a safety net, not some extra cash you have just to spend on whatever. And that is why it is so important to have an emergency fund. It helps you create financial independence in the future, and it also helps you create good spending and saving habits. This is also a good quality of being a responsible adult. Having the money and knowing that you are going to have expenses, unordinary occurrences that are going to happen in life. So I think this is just showing yourself that you know how to take charge and you are in control of your life and your finances. So that is why you should have an emergency fund. With that, that brings with the end of the video. I do want to give my subscribers and followers and listeners a huge, 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 huge thank you for sticking through the end of the video. And I do want to give my listener, viewers, and subscribers some homework. Now, I want you to give your paycheck or any other sources of income at least 5% towards your emergency fund. Yes, 5% towards your emergency fund. And this is not counting towards your other financial saving goals. This is just for your emergency fund. So, with that, thank you so much for watching, and please comment down below if you liked any of the points that I made for today's video. And that's it. Bye, chicas!